Welcome, horror fam, to HHN 365, a Halloween Horror Nights podcast. My name is Duff, and as always, I'm here with my co-host, Just Jonathan. Not that
Hello.
you're just Jonathan, but it's just you, Jonathan, and not Jess and Mike. Anyways, before we get into it, you can go check us out on social media. That's Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and YouTube at HHN365, and also our TikTok at HHN365pod. We do have an amazing Discord. You can go check the link in the description to get access to that server. Find our merch at hhn365.com. And if you'd like to be on the show here with us, just leave a voicemail at 407-906-4134. And on today's show, we're going to be talking about a haunt again that we just went to, that happened. It was a real thing in December. And of course, we're talking about a local haunt here in Central Florida. We always talk about Sir Henry's and their Haunted Christmas. We were lucky enough to go out to their media night, check out their 2 trails they have this year. But we'll give you all the info on that in just a bit here. First, we do have a little bit of news we want to knock out. Nothing too crazy HHN-centric, but one is a fun little, could it? So let's start with it, because it's fun. And that's that there was a Screen Rant article that was interviewing the creator of Terrifier, Damien Leone. And basically he said, I would love to have a Horror Nights house.
Yeah, which is super exciting. He expressed like not only his want to have the Terrifier franchise at Halloween Horror Nights, but also said that there have also been talks of it over the years. So in quotes, so hopefully that becomes a reality. Like you said, there's just so many cool environments, and now they're adding all these cool characters besides Art the Clown. These other creepy characters that you can really just put in there. It could be a really cool experience, is what he says. And that would be a very interesting house. I'm not too familiar with the franchise. I watched a little bit of the first movie, so I know the gist of it, but I didn't watch the second, and I don't think I got through the first movie completely. So I don't know. How do you feel about this franchise? Obviously this is just a, hey, I'd like to have a house, type thing.
So
But
before we get further into it, I will say, we've had other articles from creators of other properties and people who've worked on other things and people who work for production companies, and it's kind of leaned more towards like, hey, this thing could be happening. This is definitely more of like I would love it to happen. We've kind of talked about it, but nothing's imminent, or at least he didn't lead that on whatsoever. So just want to make that part clear. That this isn't like a, hey, guess what's coming? It's more of like, hey, I would love it to. So, but yeah, it's a property that's been talked about basically since the original came out. I think a lot of people would love to see it, but most agree that it doesn't seem like something HHN would touch at the moment. As we know, and I know some people like to say it's not completely the truth, but HHN has definitely stepped back on their gore a bit, right? And I don't think it's for any reason of like, oh, we just want kids now or whatever some people are saying. But it is truth. They have. The exact reasons of why, I don't know. But it's just the case. We can see it in the houses. We can see it in the zones that there are still gory moments and houses that are a bit gorier, but it's not to some of the same level we had before. And if that's something they're actually consciously doing and making a decision to do, taking on Terrifier would be the exact opposite. You cannot make a Terrifier house without having being an extremely gory experience. So I'm not going to say it won't happen. I could see them pulling it out and doing like a, hey, this is our extreme house of the year. Look at us. We're going crazy again kind of thing. Almost as like I don't want to call it a gimmick, but like using it to be like, hey, scary. I don't know. I'm not fully convinced they would, but I wouldn't be shocked to see them kind of go back and give us a house that's extremely gory, and they'd have to maybe promote it as like, hey, maybe this house 17 plus, I think it's an easy house to make, to be honest. Like the settings, fairly simple. You can make them immersive easily. The character, I mean, it shouldn't be too hard to recreate Art, really at all.
Mhm.
And then you just hit the big gory scenes, and boom, it's probably a winner. It's at least going to be fucking disgusting, and that's enough for me a lot of times. So um, I think it would work. I'm just not fully convinced it's something that Horror Nights would do right now.
Now, some people, because this is obviously making the rounds around the HHN community, some people are saying, what if this property is an Orlando property, but it's actually like a Hollywood exclusive property? Do you think
No,
Hollywood would be
no,
more? It, you don't think
no. I
so?
don't. I don't see outside of like one house per year, and it's not even to Terrifier level. Hollywood seems to stray away from gore completely for the most part too, in my opinion. Um, there
Yeah,
seems to be
I
one
don't think I've seen a
they like.
house
I
that was like
To be
super
honest,
gory
like
there.
this year was probably monstrous, just because of
Hmm.
all the like underskin and blood and organs that you saw, right? Um,
Hmm.
and before that, I'd say I don't know if I'd call it gory, but La Llorona is kind of on that level of like disgusting moments, you know.
Hmm.
But other than that, no. I mean, it feels in a lot of cases even less gore than Orlando, so I don't see why that would be the case. I did see someone say Vegas, and I don't know.
No, if
No,
they're not bringing
no,
it, if you know, no.
absolutely not. I don't think that's what they're gonna do. All right, here, we have limited space, and what we're gonna do is this extremely gory property that'll be here for like a year, two, three, who the fuck knows? No, I don't think so. Again,
Yeah.
it's not that I don't think it can. It's just that I don't think it will. Is more where I'm at.
Probably not. No, like you, you know, even the little bits I've seen of the first movie, I the reason I didn't watch the full movie, like this is too much for
Hmm.
me. I'm not gonna. I can't. I'm not much of a gore person in general, and that movie
Oh yeah, it's a
does not hold your
it's
hand.
it's a gore fest, and it has shockingly disgusting moments.
Yeah,
So,
very over the top, crazy
and
stuff.
Terrifier 2 leans into it even harder. So, I mean, um, yeah. Again, it's something I would like to see, though.
All right. Should we move on to our next piece of? Oh, this is sort of fun to talk about
Yeah,
news.
no, it is. It's especially for me, Jonathan.
Oh yeah.
So I guess I'll take it then, because my baby. Um,
Of course.
this is at the what are the awards called? The Game Awards? Is that the name?
The yeah, so something like Game Award show,
Yeah.
like the
So,
the
so
big
it's like an
one,
award show
whatever
for
it's
video
called.
games, right?
Mhm.
And they released a trailer for an upcoming video game that is sort of HHN adjacent in a way. It has been at the event before, and that is a horror survival Jurassic Park game called Jurassic Park Survival. Um, it's just a single player action adventure game, very traditional like horror survival from what we've seen from the one trailer. It's set a
Mhm.
day after the original film. Basically, you'll be playing as one of the InGen scientists who have been left behind and stranded. Um, it looks fucking great. And like I know the graphics probably aren't actual gameplay; they look more kind of like cutscene quality, if you will. But it looked beautiful. It looks terrifying, and I cannot wait to play this. Um, and I guess kind of where we're going with this being on here is like, here is a finally, we've been waiting so long. Finally, a horror portrayal of the Jurassic Park franchise, like a real one. Um, could that lead us to a different horror portrayal? The kind we talk about every week here on this podcast in a Horror Nights house?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting question, right? Because even watching that trailer, there were like, there was, I mean, the cutscene stuff was obviously like, oh, this is very much like a leaning into the original film. It had the raptors in the kitchen, type scene and whatever. But then once it even got to the glimpses of gameplay, there were shots that you just see like a long corridor, and at the end of the corridor, you see like shadows of like raptors like moving,
Mm-hmm.
like stalking him. Like, oh my god, that can work perfectly in an HHN house. Like, this just looks like an HHN house waiting to happen. Like the idea of, I even think you had like sort of a similar idea, like about like just setting it, in the timeline of the original film, having you be trapped on this
Hmm.
island with all these dinosaurs still like roaming loose, trying to get out. Like that is a perfect plot for an HHN house right there. Like it's so simple to
So
understand,
easy.
and it gives you the opportunity to just witness all these types of dinosaurs and have a atmosphere of you're not supposed to be here. You need to get out of here before these dinosaurs eat you because they are all very hungry. There's no one really feeding them anymore.
Yeah. Um, in a perfect world for me, for an HHN house, I'd rather see it maybe like a year later because I'd love to see like the
Hmm.
overgrown look, you know. Um,
Yeah.
but otherwise, yeah, this is whether I'm talking about HHN or a potential TV series or whatever. This is kind of the period I want to see that we haven't seen from Jurassic Park outside of like small media tidbits that were all just text, like never seen actual video of it or anything that we've got to experience. Um, so seeing that period after, uh, you know, the dreaded day on Isla Nublar until the Lost World, anywhere in that period, I would love to see, and it would be perfect for an HHN house. And I'm sure this game is going to be great. Does it mean anything? Probably not, you know. But if it does really well and they really see that the horror side of Jurassic Park can be successful, maybe naturally it brings their minds to, this horror event that they own. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen not giving any spoilers for it, but we've seen horror elements used in their escape room, the Jurassic
Mm-hmm.
World escape room that they
Yep.
have. So they it seems like they're itching, like to use this property in the theme parks in a more, like I don't know, like scary way than it is like currently. Which even the ride has like some horror elements, but I don't know. I feel like maybe they are, now that the Jurassic World series is over, maybe they're like, you know what? We can dip into the well of the originals again and start start doing stuff with them. And I don't know. I really like to see a house
Mm-hmm.
based on it. It would be really really cool. I think they have the tech to do it now.
And a real one, not the stupid human hybrid shit. No,
Yes.
thank you. Like a real just representation of Jurassic Park, please. Thank you.
The game just becomes a first person shooter of you with the human hybrid dinosaurs holding like machine guns.
uh, so, Jonathan, I believe its impact on me, I'm sure, what makes you think about it. But I think you have a question that came out of this.
Oh, of Jurassic Park. Yes. So I was actually this question is particularly for you because of your, love for this property. Obvious very, you're very tied to it. Would this be if this idea, right, this concept was just announced tomorrow, like this is it, this is the house, you're stranded on the island, and stuff like that. Would this be your dream HHN house? Would this be your property that you're like this is like my top IP like house concept like ever that they have announced or something like that.
1 trillion%.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's not even close. I mean, it's like my favorite. I mean, it is my favorite franchise, even though all of it's not very good. I will immerse myself in all of its media. It was my favorite movie since I've literally been a toddler. um, so, yeah, and I think as someone who's obviously into horror, knowing the horror aspects that exist in this franchise and that have been so sorely untapped, having the opportunity to get to live that horror experience in this franchise, oh, I mean, nothing could be better. Nothing could be better. Unless they fuck it up like they did previously. I know there are people who enjoyed it, but um, it's not what I would want to see out of an HHN house in Jurassic Park. But if you just do Jurassic Park, outside of literally not trying at all, I don't know how you fail.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The only things they would just have to get down pat, like I think the things that could make or break it are the
Yeah,
dinosaurs.
of course.
Like you have to actually pull them off. But I think honestly, they can do much subtle stuff that they've been proven to do before with shadows and drop down windows and and lights and stuff like that, that like when that you don't have to make the whole thing like completely filled with dinosaurs
No,
if
you can have
that's gonna cost
and
too
a
much.
lot of the like
Yeah.
victims being dragged off, and
Mm-hmm.
kind of build up that suspense that way. Like, don't just immediately show the Velociraptors or the T Rex. Give little glimpses of other dinosaurs, and then kind of bait you in and build that fear up by showing the victims, like not just dead victims, but
Yes.
them being attacked and from the shadows.
Oh god, and imagine it was like people from like the conga line too, like
Yeah, and I mean, like,
that.
oh, if they, oh, jeez, can you imagine? Oh, that'd be so good. But I mean, just think about like, I think one of the best things about Jurassic Park is the sound design and how it builds suspense in the
Mhm.
film and what the dinosaurs sound like and how scary that can be. All you need is those sounds for half the fucking house, and it's gonna do the job.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Those, I mean, the raptor sounds
Mm-hmm.
like they get into your head.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be absolutely perfect. Oh god, and I can imagine if they had like the dinosaurs that like spit water. They actually have like water
Oh,
effects of
they
like
have to, right?
the
They have
they
to.
have to. That'd be part of, yeah. And shit would scare the hell out of me. Chucky was doing that in Hollywood, and he got me a couple times.
Now just imagine it was a dinosaur.
Yeah, like an
Dilophosaurus
actual
doing it.
scary
Yeah.
creature. Yeah, that'd be terrifying. I would absolutely love this. Obviously this is us just wish listing, but it's a very fun concept that I'm happy is being implemented in media, even if it is an
Yeah.
HHN. I'm sure if you're gonna try to
Hmm.
grab this game
At the end of the day,
eventually.
I'm just happy I'm at least getting the game, and I'll worry about everything else later. So,
Yeah. So should we move on to a segment we haven't done in a bit.
are,
It's been a
are you talking
while.
about Murdy
Uh,
tweets? Murdy tweets.
I am. And full disclosure, there are a lot of tweets, like I said, a lot of Murdy tweets right now. So I decided to keep it generally focused and simplified. And we're gonna be focusing on the Murdy house Q&As for Monstrous and Monsters, Universal Monsters Unmasked, Hollywood's versions
Hmm.
of those. And the reason he picked these houses was because the community pick these houses. He had polls on Twitter saying what was your favorite house, and there was a couple brackets. And Monstrous won one, Universal Monsters won the other, and then
How?
at the end, yeah,
How?
that's a good question. um, but you'll be happy to know that at the end,
It,
Monstrous won the overall thing.
as it as
Thank
it
God.
but any go ahead.
You don't understand. I was going on all my accounts. I'm like Chucky, Chucky, Chucky. I just wanted to see the Q&As, like
Oh
it
yeah.
his,
To be
but
fair,
it's like
he
nope.
probably already told us everything about it. That man could not
Yeah, he
stop
didn't.
talking about it.
He didn't shut up
No,
about it,
we
did he?
probably already know everything.
That's true. That's true. So I'm happy we got these two. And we'll start with Monstrous, since I think Universal Monsters Unmasked has the more, I guess, like sort of behind the scenes tidbits that are like fascinating. So we'll start with Monstrous first,
Sounds good.
to create a sort of build up. Um, and we can just do this one after the other. Do you want to start off, Duff?
Is it because you don't want to try to say something in in this one?
Sometimes I'll be like, Duff, you should take this one. It's just.
Yeah, I'll start. So I think we got this one in the panel at Midsummer Scream.
I
I
think we
think he said
did.
this, but he reiterated that the setting for the house was inspired by a real cemetery in Guadalajara, in Mexico. Um, it's no longer used for burials. It's the site of a lot of paranormal investigations, however, and it is considered to be haunted. And it did create quite the
Ooh.
setting, I thought.
It did. I think that facade and the, obviously location the whole house was set in was beautiful. Absolutely stunning. The way it actually created a nice setting for all of these monsters to be in, and created an overall theme of death and everything like that.
Hmm.
It was very beautiful. I love the setting for this
Oh yeah,
house.
I thought uh, it was easily for me the best facade in Hollywood. It wasn't even close. in my opinion.
Uh, I I think I got to think about that. I got to think about that, but it's very high up there for me. Um but we'll continue our next little fact here. Um let's hope I say this right. The song "The Character Muerte," which is the narrator for the
Hmm.
house, the person, the creature you see at the beginning of the facade and the end, is singing at the facade is La Bruja.
Yeah, no,
Did
you
I
said
get
them
that
both
right?
right.
Hey,
Yeah,
there
there
we
you go.
go. Which means the witch. So that's the song that the character is singing, and the character itself was inspired by the character Death in the film The Seventh Seal.
Ah, yes, all of in the film. It was a joke, Jonathan.
No, you cut out.
Oh,
I couldn't
okay.
hear you.
Never mind.
um, but it was a very funny joke. I loved it a
Yeah,
lot.
thanks.
Even if yeah, you're welcome. um, but yeah. And you want to take the next one?
So the paintings in the house were all done by Lucas Colshaw, who does all the artwork for HHN and creates all the character illustrations, which inform their mask, makeup, and costume design. So shout out Lucas because this house did look great, like every aspect of it.
Absolutely. I mean, the all even all the like you said, all the paintings like really set up the suspense of like at least for me, like, oh shit, like what's this character gonna do? How is this character gonna scare me? Because I feel like a lot of people going into this didn't know who any of these monsters were. I didn't. Like I know a lot of people, just general people like didn't know because these aren't like the like La Llorona. They're a little more obscure to the general public, I think.
Hmm.
So having these little paintings to sort of set you up and get you, you know, interested in these characters and get you a little afraid of them, I think was really essential in making this house work, at least scare wise.
Definitely agreed.
And the next one, the La Lechuza animatronic, which with I mean, you've seen our POV we posted on TikTok and Instagram and or any video, is humongous, a very very big animatronic. Was the first large scale animatronic created for Hollywood's HHN
And I'm
ever, which is kind of
so
crazy.
happy they did it because it paid off.
It really did. Not only was it big and moving, but it had like a lot of movements in addition to just, roar. Like it had was eating like a leg and you saw it like eat the leg and
Hmm.
put it down and scream and its wings flap. It wasn't just a like a little basic, animatronic that's big. It did a lot of movements, which is kind of crazy.
I did see it not work once, but other than that, it was great, phenomenal. If you catch it when it wasn't
Apparently
moving, it was a little awkward. I will say.
I know at least from some videos I've seen opening day. I don't think it worked a lot opening day, which
So, hey, we lucked out, I guess.
we we did. We really did. I feel so bad because I'm watching videos of it now. I'm like, it's not moving, no. Because lots of people filmed
Hmm.
opening. But yeah, we did luck out. It was very beautiful and very scary.
And then,
Do you want to take the
yeah,
next
of
one?
course. Murray also says originally the victim in the scene in the pulqueria was supposed to be a live performer, but we realized that it would be really uncomfortable for him to have his spine ripped out every 10 seconds or so. That's fair. Yep, good call there.
uh, yeah, I'm glad Murdy realized that before it was too late. uh,
Yeah, nothing else to add to that one. Go
but
ahead, Jonathan.
uh I think someone did respond to him though, saying like, "Hey, in our like something related to that is like, hey, in our Monsters Unmasked, like our in Orlando's Monsters Unmasked, our spine like kind of broke and they had to like replace it." And Murdy said something like, "Oh yeah, that's how we have like a ton of them and
Hmm.
this and that." So that's like a actual answer. This is just a funny thing.
Very Murdy.
Classic
Very Murdy.
classic Murdy joke. Um, and this one's interesting, is El Cibon, which was the last monster you saw in the
You know,
house
the ones
that
whose
got its own.
sack you walk into.
You do walk into the sack, the very big and large sack. um, was the first monster Murdy thought of when creating this house and was his favorite monster. In addition, he says that he was also the most complicated due to his height. He even further elaborated, saying that there were some scenes like in the area where like all the meat was like strung and that there was the Elsa bone that was there. You can't have every Elsa bone be on stilts, so they were like on an elevated platform in that scene to reach out at you like through like a window to make it seem like they were tall, even though they weren't on stilts and they were just like on a little platform there that you couldn't see. So yeah.
I mean, yeah, that makes sense, right? I mean, it's not my favorite monster, but it was fun, and he was big.
He was. I think I will say in terms of this house, I think Elsa Bone had my favorite scenes.
I could
I
agree with
think
that. Yeah, I could agree with that. He just wasn't my favorite monster. Just the monster itself. You know what I mean?
which one's your favorite?
I think I'm gonna have to go La Lechusa. I think it's just terrifying. Like everything about Lechusa is terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean that like we just said that animatronic, just showing the La Lechusa in their full like form,
Mm.
is absolutely scary, and it's the one we talked about the most in spec season.
And then speaking of La Lechusa, the last thing is that the biggest challenge faced when creating the maze was figuring out to choose a figure in the first place. So again, not surprising. That massive. I get it.
Yeah, especially in that location on like where to fit it. I could see how it's already a tight location that is, and I'm sure it's one of the most unique locations to actually work around and build a house out of. Even though it's funny, the last 2 years it's had like a fantastic house in that. Actually, last three because Bride was in there too. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and what was before Bride in there? I don't remember. Was that the Wolfman one?
I'm not sure actually.
Or am I thinking of a different location? Okay, but either way, it's had three solid houses so far. So even with this weird location, they've managed to make it work, and they even fit a giant animatronic in there, which
And
is super fun.
a sack.
And the sack, you cannot forget the sack.
uh,
It's very
well,
important.
let's move on to Universal Monsters Unmasked, and I guess you can kick us off on this one.
Yeah. So this one's kind of funny. So you know how their Universal Monsters Unmasked has a newspaper as their facade. Um, and it's called the newspaper is called La Burla de Paris. It's not entirely French. Burla is the Irish word for English. So you have some of Murdy's Irish roots ending up on the facade for Universal Monsters Unmasked.
And sort of a similar joke to what we had in Orlando, where we had the flyer that basically said, "This sign is in French and it makes no sense at all," or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty funny. And,
Yeah,
I like those little jokes because basically no one, percentage wise, is going to understand. It's going to be a very small number. For those who see it, going to get a good laugh.
yeah. I mean, this was literally that's like the biggest thing you could see on this newspaper is the title of the what the newspaper is called, and haven't seen a single person point out that that word was
No,
Irish and not French.
no.
So it just goes to show that those you could really get away with a lot of fun stuff, like Orlando did, because no one's gonna translate.
That
Like they're not,
Oh
like
no,
if
especially I mean Irish is even way less spoken than French, obviously. So that would make
mm-hmm.
sense. Although I'm surprised no one went. I don't think that's a French word, unless it is. Maybe it means something. I don't know. Anyways,
Who
uh,
knows.
he also mentions that the Hunchback torture scene is inspired by the film and the novel, stating that Esmeralda was hanging in the scene because she dies in the novel, but they took it a step further and killed her dancing goat too.
Those assholes.
Why? Why you gotta do that? It's fucking rude.
I don't know. It is. To be honest, I didn't even see the goat in there,
Nah, I don't
but
remember that.
I noticed her hanging. She was
I
pretty
saw that.
obvious.
Yeah,
Not
it was a big plot
anything
point
else.
for uh uh why did I just lose Hunchback? There we go. Big plot point in his in that house. Uh, so they made that clear. Did not catch the goat.
Did not, unfortunately. Um, but the next thing is someone asked like what Murdy's favorite like hidden detail in the house was, and he basically said that all the skeletons in the cabaret of death are drinking absinthe.
Oh,
So
I guess
that was his.
I guess they like a nice licoricey taste.
Yeah. Good to know. To be honest, I thought they were drinking like a potion because it was like so green.
That's
I
what it
thought it
looked
was like
like, right?
a like a
It definitely looked like
yeah. I thought it was
potion.
like a Hyde potion that Hyde was like giving his like potion to
Mm.
people or something like that, or he made like poison in
It was
his
like
in his
just
lab.
like too
But
like neon-y and glowy to be like a real
yeah.
drink, you know. So yeah, didn't catch that either. But thanks
Mhm.
for clarifying later on. Um, Also, the Invisible
There
Man
we go.
got such a small scene because Murdy intended this to be a house about the silent monsters, so it was more of a cameo. I mean, yeah, it was basically
That's
just
him
a
basically
cameo.
saying, I didn't really want to
Yeah,
do. Yeah. It's like I didn't really want to do the Invisible Man. They kind of made me do it, so I'm gonna give him no scenes. I will give him one scene. Less, it's translation there.
good job, Murdy.
You know what? I'll say I liked his one scene a lot. I think they did it. I know it's exactly what they did in the original Universal Monsters house they had in
Hmm.
2018, but I mean it works. It's a effect that people liked then, and I
Oh,
liked it
yeah,
now.
no,
So
I thought it was good.
he was funny. He was taking people's hats. He was trying to take Mike's hat. Like
He
every
did.
time we went
He was
through
an
it,
Orlando City fan.
he was. We went through like 4 times, and every time he's like, "Give me that hat." Like, stop this. You're, but All right, now this is a crazy behind the scenes detail right here about this house. Um, someone said a comment to John Murdy on Twitter. It was basically like, "Hey, thought your black walls were an interesting idea. You know, I get it because of reason. Um, and Murdy's like, thanks, but they weren't actually intentional. And he said in quotes, "Scenic came in too high, so we had to cut the scenic in those two scenes regarding the Jekyll and Hyde Black Wall scenes and the ending, the finale scenes." And he said Hyde was one Hyde, the Hyde one was the continuation of the catacombs, what it was supposed to be, and the finale was all mirrors, including the ceiling, inspired by the mirror trap room in the Phantom of the Opera novel. Um, so that's interesting, right?
I mean, I would hope he didn't purposely design it that way. So there's at least that, because that was, I think, all four of us for our first run. We were like, no, where were the
Wh- uh,
where was the scenes at all? So I mean, you have to make creative budgeting decisions, right? Didn't love that's what had to happen though.
yeah, it's sad, especially like the Hyde room was not great, but like I can give it a sort of a pass because like the dialogue at least is like hide and seek, so it's like, oh, you got to find them and it's hard to see in the dark, and you can get away with that. But the finale you can't. I don't know, even though Hollywood usually does black wall finales, the finale, I feel like this one was like very. I think the mirror trap room, having it all be mirrors, so you're faced with like all of these monsters and the stilt walker and everything like that. Like that would have made that room that was already absolutely incredibly intense, the most intense like area I think I had that entire year in all the haunted houses. Like they completely wrecked me. I think if there were mirrors everywhere, I would have just completely
Oh,
lost it.
you wouldn't have made it out of
It
the house, John. You'd still be there. You'd be
I
stuck in there somewhere.
That's why they didn't put the mirrors there because I knew they wouldn't make it out. Like we have to give Jonathan a bone here. We can't do that to him. But that would have been a really, really, really cool way to end the house, I
Hmm.
think.
And then the last bit of Murdy news. Red Death Phantom was supposed to not be wearing the skull mask, but something got lost in translation with the team. Now, I know I'm not like the all-knowing Phantom of the Opera guy by any stretch, but why would he not be wearing it?
I don't know, and I couldn't answer
Because
that.
like,
I'm
isn't
sure.
isn't that like does isn't that what Red Death Phantom is? Doesn't he wear the skull mask? Like, I don't. Is
I
there
know
like
there's a scene where he doesn't.
okay?
I know there's a scene where he does and a scene where he doesn't. So like maybe just Murdy wanted the scene where he doesn't. I'm sure Jess and Mike like would have better
Yeah,
answers for this.
you know what? We're gonna save this one for next week. And by save, I mean we're just
We
gonna
will.
talk about it again because I want to hear from the two who actually know the Phantom of the Opera much better than us. So
That's how we start off the episode. We got a question for you
we got a
guys.
voicemail. We just played this clip.
That'd be fantastic.
Um,
Um,
but I think that's it for our Murdy section then.
yeah,
So as we said before, we're gonna get to actually experiencing Haunt again, which felt so good. I was so happy. It
it
just
was a
feels
very
right,
nice moment.
doesn't it?
It does, as much as I don't personally love the holiday season, having haunts in there, it seems like it's always a perfect mixture. It always is.
Hmm. So let's talk about Sir Henry's Haunted Christmas. And thank you again for inviting us out to your media night and getting to experience everything that you have at your event that we'd love to visit every season you have. Do more seasons. That's fine. We're cool with that. So
Sweet.
just a few things to break down Sir Henry's before we talk about what we actually experienced. For Haunted Christmas, they're going to have 2 trails, an escape room, merch, food, walk around characters. The trails are going to be Creatures of Christmas and Sleigh Bells Chapter 2. And there's already been one weekend passed, so there is still a second weekend to go. If you would like to go, it's going to be December 15th, 16th, and 17th from this point forward. If you would like to purchase tickets, you have to do this advance online. That's at Sir Henry's Haunted Trail.com. So don't show up if you have not bought your tickets. Make sure you buy those online in advance. Um, and with
Yes.
that being said, let's talk about what we experienced.
Yes. And
Let's.
before we get to
Nope.
that,
Go ahead.
I forgot to write on the outline because I have weird brain. Also has laser tag and axe throwing.
That's yes,
So those
yes.
are things there as well.
So let's start with the trails because that's what that's the most important part of a haunt, right?
Yeah, I mean
Of
absolutely.
course. And let's. I'm going to start it backwards the way we have it listed, and I'm going to start with Sleigh Bells Chapter 2 because this is basically a sequel to something we saw from the last Haunted Christmas event, but quite a bit different this time. Um, so this is going to be, if you've been to Sir Henry's before, it's going to be the trail to the far left if you're facing the back of the event, um, which, if you know, is beautiful set. They've built beautiful sets in there, so I always
Oh
love
yeah.
any opportunity to walk through this. Um, let's just read the description before we talk about it too. Following the success of the rebellion, Psyche and the elves began running the North Pole their way. The naughty and nice list was thrown out the window and they declared every child naughty. But the naughty children won't be getting coal this year. Instead, a whole line of new demented toys are being produced. Toys straight out of children's nightmares. With the reindeers on their side to deliver these hellish toys, who can stop them? Is Christmas ruined forever? I think it is. Yeah,
Maybe.
from what I saw, it's ruined forever. Um, so, what'd you think about Sleigh Bells Chapter 2, Jonathan, without spoiling it fully, because we've still got a whole nother weekend of event?
Oh yeah, without giving, like detailed things or things they haven't like announced or like, showed pictures of before. I thought this was a brilliant trail. I think it was absolutely brilliant. I got to attend last year's Sir Henry's Haunted Christmas, and they had the first iteration of Sleigh Bells, and I was adamant saying I really love that one. Thought the comedy was fantastic, had good scares, great improvisation, and everything about I said about that trail carries over to this one because I think it has the same highs, right? The comedy was fantastic. I think the improvisation with the elves and the other creatures you encounter were really well done and really fun. There were moments where, um, years and years past, there'd be like a area with like a lot of trees that you'd sort of walk through, and it sort of be a little, like there wasn't much in there that aside like a scare or two. This year in this trail, there was someone walking with you through that entire part, talking with you the entire
Mm,
time, which was absolutely fantastic. So the personalization and improvisation were top notch. The comedy was great. The sets, I didn't get to see this current Halloween version of these sets, but now finally getting to see them in this Christmas environment. Oh my god, they blew me away. They're even better than they were before, and I thought the way they
yeah.
were before was really good too. Like it, it's a fantastic trail that I absolutely recommend you go out of your way and see because I thought it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think for me, this is one of my favorite trails by Sir Henry's period. I think it just nails the comedy aspect so well, while still kind of setting up scares. Um,
Mm-hmm.
for the fact of it being Christmas, I think these sets lend to it perfectly. Um, just the way they could decorate and get those Christmas lights going, you know. Like you were saying, how you kind of have this characters kind of being able to follow you throughout certain areas. They really kind of got to
Mm-hmm.
pitch that the elves have taken over in a funny and kind of terrifying way at the same time. Um, yeah, I think it, you should go see this. If you enjoy haunts, this trail alone is worth going to check out, and you will get your fix for a haunt in December. 1,000,000%.
Absolutely. This is a like a perfect holiday haunt. This it embodies the spirit of the holidays and the zaniness and goriness and haunts. I think it was a very fun
Mm-hmm.
time.
Now, the other trail, Creatures of Christmas, will be to the far right of the event, where it's that water themed trail, if you will.
Hmm.
So the description is far beyond the outskirts of civilization sat an isolated winter village. Legend has it that this is where creatures and monsters from ghost stories lived. Krampus, Abominable Snowman, Jack Frost, and more are said to call this place home. A team of explorers recently went looking for these beings in hopes to disprove this strange rumor. But all that was found of them was their gear, ripped up and covered in blood. Do you have the guts to find out for yourself what lives in this snow-capped village? We did
We
have the
did.
guts. That happened, and we are still here. So we are not ripped up and covered in blood. Our gear's not, to my knowledge.
unless we're
Um,
unless we're
but we could be
ghosts,
ghost.
we
Hmm.
could. Who knows how ghosts work?
Anyways, so this was interesting because if you know this trail, we actually went through it backwards. So
Hmm.
interesting quirk to it there. Um, I really enjoyed how it started off because it brings you through the best scene of this trail first. Um, and I mean, if you go back to like Dead Man's Pier and how fun just that whole like kind of like frozen winter village is, it gives you that fully, right? I
Hmm.
will say it is not as in depth with its storytelling, but there are a lot more opportunities for scares than there were in Sleigh Bells. I think I heard a lot of screaming in this one, and Jess got
Hmm.
a few big jumps out of it for sure.
Oh yeah. This was out of the two. I'd say like I described Sleigh Bells as the comedy house. It was had scares, but it definitely was a comedic route and comedic theme. This one was very much while there is going to be some campy elements because it's involving Christmas creatures. You're going to see Christmas creature and go like, oh, that's
Mm-hmm.
cool. It is very more in your face scary type environment and it had those jump scares throughout the entire trail.
And I will say, while it has less storytelling than Sleigh Bells, it makes sense because at the end of the day, you're just kind of experiencing these different creatures face to face. So
Yeah,
there's less of a need for a story.
it doesn't need
Anyways,
a
yeah. But yeah, definitely. While I prefer sleigh bells, this is still well worth heading out there and checking out.
Absolutely. Some of the costumes are really cool too. And there's even some, I don't even want to say the word because it might be a little spoiled, but there are some surprises along the way that you don't you don't usually see at local haunts. Some things with some more money added to them,
Hmm.
if without saying the word, because it'll give a spoiler. So that's going to be exciting for you guys to check out. Both of these trails are really, really fun and a great way to spend the night, during the holiday
And
season.
the trails aren't where the scares end either, because you do have the walk around characters with some set pieces throughout kind of the middle of the event, right? Of course,
Mm-hmm.
returning is Jimmy, the gingerbread man, and he's basically a mobster, like full on mobster now. So that's a lot of fun. Um, and mainly surrounded by him, you're gonna have some victims running away, and kind of using that for their interactions. So if you go and you owe Jimmy money, don't go. Don't do it. Stay away.
You won't make it.
Don't fuck with Jimmy.
N- Don't fuck with the Jimmy. Don't do it. Yeah, I really like the way how they've taken, because I think little Jimmy was just introduced last year, right? Like at least in a bigger
Yes, yeah.
role, and the way they've evolved the character and evolved a lot of the characters. There were some other ones that were, that came from last year, particularly in the Sleigh Bells Trail, but also just in the common area itself. That you can just tell they really got in touch with their characters. They knew who they were, how to get laughs, how to get scares, how to make, even if you aren't talking with them, even if you're on the other side of the common area, you can see them running around, like causing like a fun scene, just to improve that atmosphere.
Hmm.
I think this was a they really did well with their characters, walk around characters this year.
Yeah, I think that's always kind of a standout for Sir Henry's in the more recent years. Um, and I think they kind of keep upping it just a bit. So I look forward to seeing what they have for whatever next season they decide to do. Now, we
Absolutely.
did not get to do the laser tag or the escape room during this event. However, we've done them in the past. We always think the escape rooms are a nice little experience to see if you can one up your last time doing it. You don't have a lot of time at all, so don't think about it. Just do. You got it. I believe in you.
Yeah, and they're always, there's always a challenging level to them, but they're never like, they're never too challenging where people who don't do escape rooms are like, I'm completely lost.
Hmm.
Which I really enjoy that difficulty level because I don't do escape rooms. I in general. So I think they have it at a difficulty where it's very fair, and it's not too easy, not too hard. It's somewhere where everyone's gonna have a good time, and you obviously need to do the task and work, or else you will run out of time. So that gives the fun element to it. So they're fun. They're very
Yeah,
fun.
definitely. And then merchandise, of course, they're going to have all their seasonal merch, whether that's shirts, they have ornaments. They're also selling some baked goods that I believe is from a local company. Um, so very Christmassy atmosphere going on there with the merch as well. And of course, Sir Henry's also has books centered around Sir Henry. um,
Mm-hmm.
so that's fun if you want to dig more into the lore of what Sir Henry's really is. We also did not get to try out the food. There's also a limited menu at media night. The menu did look pretty large, though, from what we've seen in the past. So you should have quite a few good options. Also, uh, cheapest food you're going to get at a haunt. So take advantage if you're out there
Yeah,
with that.
absolutely.
And then I think that pretty much wraps it up. They have ample parking. It's a great night out. It's a win-win to go. I don't see why you shouldn't.
Yeah, the ticket prices are really fair.
Mm-hmm.
Like I, for what they're offering. Absolutely. I absolutely recommend this, especially I'm actually everyone listening to this likes haunts, so I mean, just do it. You're gonna have a good time if you're in the area, or you're you're close enough where it's to be a nice time out. Like, why not? It's fun.
Well, we kind of wrapped that up quicker than we expected. I'm talking about the whole
We
episode,
did.
but look at us. That's under an hour, I think.
Oh
Oof.
yes, it's it did go a little quicker, didn't we? How long are we at? Oh,
Yeah,
only like an
yeah,
hour.
not even.
Look at that.
Oof. Well, hey, it's off season. We don't have too much going on quite yet relating to the namesake of the podcast. However, there are some things on the horizon to look forward to. Our annual Schmitties, the award show we do, going to be coming up, of course. We still have to review a final Hollywood breakdown. So
Mm-hmm.
that will be coming pretty soon before the end of the year, we hope for sure. And then once we hit January, as we do basically in every other year we've existed, that's when we really get back on track, get back to fully weekly podcasting. This is just kind of it's not a full break, but more of an intermittent posting kind of period. But that's only a few weeks left, and we'll be back full time, weekly, and hopefully with a bunch of HHN rumors to talk about.
Absolutely. I mean, we're already starting to get sort of kind of them now.
Yeah,
Kind of,
we,
sort of.
we talked about one today, kind of.
Kind of. It's
It,
in the
yeah,
realm.
it's something. It's something. All right. Again, check us out on social media at Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and YouTube at HHN365.com and at TikTok at HHN365pod. Check out our Discord. You can find the link in the description to join our server. We do have merch over at HHN365.com. And you can always leave us a voicemail that we play here on the show at 407-906-4134. And I guess we'll see you in the streets.